Trade with neighboring cultures further enriched the diet of the early inhabitants with new ingredients for them to enjoy. Having a constant supply of food was key to surviving as the early inhabitants wandered across the lands they lived within. They developed methods to make food more edible as well as to preserve their supplies for times of scarcity. Our early inhabitants also made a significant discovery that was a major turning point in the way they prepared their food.
Some of our archaeological sites, especially reflecting the Old Stone Age or Paleolithic, show evidence of fire. Fire has been used in order to process or cook food.
But we also cooked knowing how to use embers. We also cook knowing how to put food in a bamboo tube. We also would put food in empty shells and cook in the shells. Or wrap it up in very thick layers of leaves and put this on top of the embers. And how this would cook food.
Grilling and roasting, which we sometimes call as inihaw and the sinugba, is one of the most primitive cooking methods. The inihaw is just anything that's grilled over charcoals or live fire. Cooking food over live fire not only makes meats more safe to eat, but also allows food to be cooked until tender. It gives food not only a smoky flavor, but also a sweetish caramel note because of the Maillard reaction. Our early inhabitants learned how to harness fire more efficiently in their cooking.
What is interesting is from a campfire, we put 3 stones together. And suddenly we can balance something on top of those 3 stones. 3 stones were how we started to put a pot on top. From this very simple type of campfire cooking, we move now into this cooking with a clay stove called the kalan. One version of it looked something like a shoe. And you would put firewood into that shoe. Others looked like a little cylinder or a tower.
Our early inhabitants formed these from clay found in riverbanks and used them for a variety of culinary applications.
And so, with the appearance of pottery, we have a revolution, a food revolution that was going on. Some other cooking methods can now become possible.
Well, a study still has to be made about this, but basically I would say the palayok is indigenous. It's part of our Austronesian heritage. It makes sense, right? So much clay around. You use clay to make pots to contain water as well as to cook in.
Laga is a manner of cooking food in a broth or a stock, and it allows food not only to tenderize but also extend the volume of the meal to feed large numbers of people. If we investigate pre-Hispanic food preparations, we will realize that cooking was done by one or combination of all these methods with the use of whatever ingredients was available in their immediate environment. A tinola or tuwa is actually a generic term for boiled dishes, and we'd find different versions of the tinola across the country. We have the tiola in Mindanao, the tuwa in the Visayas, and tinola in Luzon. The tinola is basically a clear soup that gets its flavor from whatever you are boiling and accentuated with the aroma of ginger and lemongrass. Another beloved dish, the sinigang, is essentially a variation of the tinola infused with a souring element.
For me, a good example of boiling is actually sinigang, which is also, by the way, a complete meal because there you have vegetables, you have either fish or pork, and gabi.
Paksiw or inunon is basically food cooked in vinegar. The distinct flavor of the paksiw is the sourness from the vinegar.
Because vinegar gives flavor. And in the Philippines, we have such a wide variety of vinegars.
And the paksiw is just like a kinilaw that is cooked over fire, a predecessor of our adobo. If we look at indigenous cooking, we would notice that the cooking methods were only there to highlight the freshness and the quality of the ingredients. It was not there to cover up the natural flavors of the food. Cooking in those days was intuitive. Our early inhabitants relied on a creative exploration of his surroundings, relying on a sense of what could be combined to come up with a delicious dish.